Diets don't work, but lifestyles do. Hi, I'm Jeff Nelson. I've had a lot of people asking me about weight loss recently, so I thought I'd make a video about it. Now, first of all, why do you want to lose weight? Well, the American Institute of Cancer Research, which is one of the most respected organizations in the field, has the following recommendations for cancer prevention. So here they are, number 1 through 10. The first one is be as lean as possible without becoming underweight. It goes on to say maintaining a healthy weight is one of the most important things you can do to reduce your risk of cancer. Aim to be at the lower end of the BMI range. The second thing is be physically active for at least 30 minutes a day. Third recommendation is to limit consumption of energy-dense foods, particularly processed foods high in added sugar or low in fiber or high in fat. So losing weight for the sake of your health should be a high priority. Other reasons for losing weight: you feel better, you have more energy, you step more lightly, it feels nice to wear size 31 waist instead of size 36. I've lost about 30 pounds from 185 down to 155. And I got to tell you, just everything feels better at a lighter weight. So let's talk for a minute about why people get overweight. Doug Lisle, who's a psychologist that works with Dr. McDougall, likes to say that there's only 3 animals on the planet that get overweight: man, cats, and dogs. What do they all 3 have in common? They're fed by people. If you go out and look at any other animal in nature, whether it's a horse or a lion or a chipmunk or a bird, you don't see fat ones, you don't see overweight or obese animals. That's because when you're eating the right food for your species, you don't put on weight. Even if you're in a place where there's abundant food to be had, animals don't do that. And it's been the same with people for millions of years. Man does not get overweight when he's eating his proper diet. And it's really only in the last 30 to 50 years that we've deviated from that diet tremendously, and so we see 2/3 of people are overweight. So what's going on here? Do people, just not have the self-control? There's a lot of misconceptions out there. There are many thin people who may think, I'm thin because I know when to stop eating. This fat person over there, they don't have any self-control. They just gorge themselves, and that's why they're fat. But that's totally nonsense. Most people don't even know why there's so much obesity and overweight in our society. Your weight depends on 3 different factors. 1 is your genes, 2 is your diet, and 3 is your activity level. Let's take a look at genes. That's the one thing you can't really change. All animals are driven by the DNA that tells them they need to survive and they need to reproduce. That's basically what we're all geared for. Nature gives a variety in the gene pool to help the survival of the species in general. So you see, different physical makeups of people. Everyone's basically the same, but we see some people with blonde hair, some people with brown hair, some people with blue eyes, some people with brown eyes. Most of these adaptations come about because of exposure to the environment. If you're living in the northern climate where there's not much sun, you might have lighter skin. If you live in a tropical area where there's sun all the time, you will adapt and have darker skin. So we see the same things in people's body weight. And we basically see 3 types of body types. One would be, the very thin. The second would be sort of what we might call the normal. And the third would be what I would call the hefty type. And within a culture, there's going to be the variation there. But depending on the environment that a particular culture has been in for hundreds of years, one type might start to predominate. So we see, for example, in the Pima Indians that are in the southwest desert area like Arizona, they have a history of the Apaches coming down and attacking and having to go retreat and live for long periods of time with very little food. So the people who survived, the people who could get along in scarcity, were the hefty types. So, the skinnier people might starve to death and die off. So that culture preferred the hefty gene. So what happened is in the 1890s, when the Native Americans in that area started being fed by the US government, they went off the normal diet that they'd been eating, which was sort of a starch-based diet, and started eating a lot more processed foods and flours and high-fat foods. And what happened was they started getting bigger and bigger. And this has been well researched and documented in the scientific literature. And now today, the Pima Indian tribe has about a 100%, not just obesity rate, but like almost a 100% type 2 diabetes rate. They're a huge, huge people, and it's because biologically the hefty body type is what was preferred. Now that doesn't mean that before the food changed that these were big people. They weren't. They were slim people. What would happen if you took the Pima Indians and you put them back on a diet like they've been eating for hundreds or thousands of years before that? Well, we know what happens because about 200 years ago, the Pima Indians broke off into two tribes, and part of the tribe went to Mexico. And in Mexico, they continued eating the same diet. And they're around today. They're called the Tarahumara Indians. They're the cousins of the Pima. And they are a people that are very slim and trim and have tremendous athletic abilities. They've got the same genes, the same hefty gene, because they survived for hundreds of years in very scarce food situations. But because they've continued eating a low-fat, starch-based, predominantly plant-based diet, they're thin and trim. Think about the South Seas. About 2,000 years ago, the Polynesians set out from Southeast Asia to start exploring and populating islands in the South Pacific. So we have a lot of Polynesian people that have made it all the way to Hawaii or even to South America in boats. And what would happen is they would go out on trips that would last weeks, maybe months, and the food would become more and more scarce. So again, the hefty types, the people that had slower metabolisms, that were better at storing fat, those were the preferred body types in that culture, and the skinnier people sort of died off. And so what you see today is that in many parts of Polynesia and even in Hawaii, you see that as the American diet and the Western food has come in, again, tremendous, huge people, diabetes rate through the ceiling, the Marshall Islands in the South Seas. We see this in Hawaii. Now, what would happen if the native people living there today went back and started eating the starch-based, low-fat diet that their ancestors ate? Well, we know Terry Shintani is a doctor in Hawaii. In fact, he purchased Dr. McDougall's medical practice when Dr. McDougall left Hawaii, and he's published a number of studies where they've gone in and fed a low-fat, plant-centered diet. Wasn't 100% vegan, but very close. And what happens is they eat 30% more food, but they're consuming at the same time 30% fewer calories, and the result is they lose weight, they get thin and trim like their native, ancestors from a couple hundred years ago. Their diseases leave. So in short, it's the food. It's not the genes, it's the food. And having the correct food is what's going to get you back to a thin, trim, lean person like your ancestors were. So and we see this all over the world. We see this in Kenya, we see this in Africa, where people eating the starch-based diet, low calorie dense diet, that when they move to the city, they start putting on weight and becoming sick, or they move to the United States. Their descendants are, much bigger and heavier and have these problems, is because they're eating this foreign diet, highly calorie concentrated diet that our bodies are not adapted for. Okay, so let's look at emotional reasons why people might put on weight. Here's a study that says getting married can make men and women gain weight. And if you look at it, there's an average of 20 pounds in some studies compared to the unmarried control group. So don't get married, right? Is that the message? Nonsense. Having children. Here's another study that says having kids can make you fat. We read about dad bods in the media all the time, and it confirmed the finding. Men gain an average of 4 pounds with their first child, and so on. So what's the lesson here? Don't have kids? Baloney. Emotional stress, emotional eating. We hear about that. There's lots of studies about this. You need to get your emotional self together to banish the pounds, right? Nonsense. All these populations, whether it's the Kenyans, whether it's the Pima Indians, the Polynesians, everybody's had stress. They've had war, they've had marriages, they've had children, they've had, their mother was mean to them, whatever it is, all those things exist, and they still were thin and lean, even with the hefty body type. So how do you lose weight? Well, I can only talk about how I lost weight, and how I lost weight is that I made a commitment. I decided, okay, I want to lose some weight. I want to feel better, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to follow this program, and I'm not going to be thinking after 1 week, I'm not losing weight. Am I losing enough weight? How fast? I decided, okay, I know this works. I just have to stick to it. I just have to buckle down and figure out a way to make it work. And if I hit a plateau, I'm going to figure out, why and get past that. If you really want to do it, decide you're going to do it. If it's going to take you 9 months or it's going to take you a year to get to your goal, commit to a year, commit to whatever it's going to take. The basic principle to losing weight is to create a calorie deficit, because energy balance is what losing weight or gaining weight is all about. The principle that a lot of different weight loss programs in the plant-based world use is what's called the maximum weight loss program. Another word is calorie density principles. And there's a book written by John McDougall in 1985, what is that, 21 years ago, I guess, called Maximum Weight Loss Program. And that is the basic Bible that I use to understand this concept. But understand that most of the programs you see around that have weight loss components are using these same principles, whether it's the Engine 2 diet, Chef AJ's diet, the Pritikin, the Jeff Novick's approach, the high raw diet and raw diets. They all basically work on this similar mechanism that you're going to eat as much food as you want. You're not going to restrict your calories, but you're going to change the nature of the food so that you're creating a calorie deficit. Over time, that takes care of it. So Dr. McDougall says there's three basic ways that you can lose weight. One is to restrict your calories, and that will make weight go up, but that's too hard to do. I don't recommend that, and that's generally a temporary fix. That's how many diets work. They try to, you count the calories, you measure the food, you weigh it, and you would lose weight doing that, but you're not going to keep it off. The second way is to use exercise. If you go and exercise 4 hours a day, you're going to burn a lot of calories, and if you're not replacing all those calories, you're going to start losing weight. I don't recommend that as a way to try to achieve your weight loss, though I do recommend exercise as a part of your lifestyle, as well as a part of how you're going to lose weight. So the third way, of course, is just to change the foods that you're eating, change the composition of your diet in terms of how much fat, how much protein, how much carbohydrates, and the type of foods you're eating. So what are the foods you're going to eat? You're going to eat low calorie dense foods. That's the key, okay? So you're basically going to follow the starch solution diet, but you're going to modify it in a way to remove those foods that are higher in calorie density. Calorie density means the amount of calories in a certain amount of food. It's usually expressed by how many calories are in a pound of food. So in a pound of animal products, generally it's about 1,000 calories. In a pound of non-starchy vegetables, it's about 100 calories. So you can see that you can eat a lot of low calorie dense foods, you get a lot of food in you, but very low number of calories. And that's the basic concept. So basically the diet starts with no animal foods, it's all plant foods, no oil, highly processed, highly calorie dense food. And then it takes it a step further and it says no flours. So that means no breads, no pastas, no bagels, no flour products, really no refined foods. Corn tortillas, okay, they're very low calorie. Flours are more rapidly absorbed. They cause a greater rise in insulin. And insulin's job is to push fat into your cells to save that fat for a day when the famine comes. But of course, the famine never comes. It just keeps storing more fat. So no flours, or at least limit them to very special occasions if you're going to have any. No overt fats. So that means no nuts or nut butters, no seeds, no avocados, no soy or soy products, no olives. High-fat foods are very easily stored as fat, so avoid them. Starches are the main thing you're going to have for satisfaction. That's potato, rice, corn, oatmeal. Non-starchy vegetables. Now that is the key to weight loss. That is the reason you're going to lose weight most quickly. And it's important to know what a non-starchy vegetable is versus a starchy vegetable. I'm going to put a link in the description to a list of all the non-starchy vegetables. Non-starchy vegetables are 100 calories per pound. So, but they're not really that satisfying. So what the idea is, you're making a third to a half of your plate are going to be non-starchy vegetables. And then the other side are going to be starches that bring you the satisfaction that you need. So you're going to fill up, get as full as you want, but be consuming really a very low amount of calories. I want to show you this chart here, which kind of is a little guide for eating according to calorie density. And you can see here on the left it says calories per pound. And basically you want to cut off around 600 calories per pound. So you can eat vegetables, fruit, potato, corn, squash, oats, whole grains, rice, pasta, beans and legumes. Those are the go foods. And the avoid or limit are everything below the line there, which have higher calorie density. And the faster you want to lose, the more you focus on the lowest of those foods. So Dr. McDougall recommends limiting fruits to 2 servings, 2 fruits a day. Why? Because fruit comes in around 300 calories per pound. If you focus on vegetables, on non-starchy vegetables, you can eat 3 times as many and get as many calories as fruits. And again, this is presuming that you want to lose weight in a healthy way, a way that you can keep it off, and in a fast way too. So if you're not as concerned about fast, then you can have more fruits, you can have more calorie-dense foods in the limit here. I'm also going to say avoid or minimize smoothies and juices. Now, why aren't smoothies healthy? Well, yeah, I guess. But smoothies, when you take the fiber and you grind it all up, you've stopped your mouth and your digestive system from having to do that role. And that actually burns calories. And there's been studies that show that basically you gain 12% of the calories of the food you're eating when it's all blended and cut up with high-speed steel teeth. So I don't recommend that. The other thing is it's much easier to eat more calories. You know, if you're going to eat 5 pieces of fruit, you might get through the 4th piece and go, oh, I'm stuffed. But if you blend it up, you put it all together, wow, I could eat 10 more fruits because I'm drinking it all. So that's, again, calorie density, you want to keep that in mind. So what do I eat? A typical meal for me would be to steam some veggies and then put those on a starch like potatoes or rice and put some beans in that and mix it all together. Maybe put some spaghetti sauce or some salsa or some hot sauce or something, barbecue sauce, and eat that. That'll be my meal. That'll be my breakfast. I might start breakfast with veggies and then have some starch after that. And I actually really enjoy that. That's my kind of go-to meal. I can do it in the cooker. I can do it with frozen veggies in the microwave, depending on how much time I have. But I'm satisfied. It's low calorie dense and it gets a job done. Jeff Novick talks about, he's a vegan dietitian, a famous vegan dietitian, about sequencing your meals, where you start with a salad and raw veggies. Raw is great because you don't absorb as many calories when you eat raw foods as you do. When you cook it, the calorie content or how much you absorb increases. So you start with a salad with an oil-free salad dressing. You might have a soup, a vegetable soup, a bean soup, a potato soup, and then you have the big starch part of it, your entree, last when you've already filled up to a certain degree and you get satisfied very easily. So that's another way to keep the calorie density low. So where do I come down on sugar? Don't cook with it in anything. You can add some, you can add a little sugar, but if you're trying to lose weight and the maximum weight loss, you're trying to keep the calories down, then limit sugar. Or some people are like addicts. When they have some sugar, suddenly that stimulates their appetite and their dopamine so much that they want more, they crave more. If that's you, then just eliminate the sugar. Just cut the sugar during the period that you're trying to lose and get down to your target weight. So basically, I like to keep my meals boring. I don't mean boring, but they're pretty repetitive, but they're very satisfying to me. Some people, when they go vegan, oh, they had the greatest this and the greatest that, and they're trying to dazzle themselves at every meal, which actually, the variety actually increases your appetite. It's not necessary. Eat like the longest lived cultures eat around the world, and that's fairly plain and consistent and satisfying. The other thing is exercise. You want to get regular exercise going, even if it's just walking around the block. Try and get out there 4, 5, 6 days a week if you can. I lost about 20 pounds in 9 months, just pretty much through eating, and then I decided to take up bicycling, which I hadn't done for many years. But after doing that, I very quickly lost another 10 pounds when I started adding bike riding, and in fact got to the point where, uh-oh, wait a sec, I'm losing too much weight. I need to eat more because, this is going further than I was planning. So exercise is very important. It works in concert with the diet. It kind of supercharges it. So that's the other thing you want to make sure you're doing. I want to talk about scales for a moment here. I had this crummy scale that we had. It was really pretty unreliable. It's supposed to give your body weight, but your body fat, but it was a joke. So what I did something else. I went and found a body fat testing truck that comes a couple times a month into our neighborhood, and I could go down and they weigh you, They stick you underwater and you blow all the air out and they weigh you a few different times, and then they're able to give you pretty accurately what your body fat percentage is. And I found that kind of fun and an interesting way to track it. I did it once every couple of months maybe, and I could not only see that I was losing weight, but I could see that I was not losing muscle. So these are the results I got from the truck, the body fat truck. You can see, I guess last time I did it was December 5th, 2015. My weight was 153, my lean weight was 135, and my fat was 1805. You can see the body fat, that was about 12%. And you can see the test I had before that. In 8/22, August 22nd, I weighed 164, so I was 11 pounds heavier. You can see, you can watch your body fat going down in the right direction. So that's really an interesting thing to do. It's useful, and it kind of helps keep you on track when you're getting feedback like this every month or every couple of months. Now I have a new scale, and there's always a question, you know, should you need a scale? Should you weigh yourself? How much should you weigh yourself? So here's a study from just last month about scales that's kind of interesting. And it says people wanting to lose and keep weight off should weigh themselves daily. And they quote a number of studies of groups that use scales. For example, college freshmen, the ones who weighed themselves daily, didn't put on any weight, while the freshmen who didn't weigh themselves put on an average of 5 pounds. This was during the first 12 weeks of school. Here's another, a 2-year study of 162 overweight and obese people. Those who weighed themselves daily were more likely to lose significant weight and keep it off. So other studies show the same thing, and they didn't see any negative outcomes. I'm going to put a link to this study, which is on USA Today, and you can read the article yourself. But all this said, I was given a scale by a scale company here, and it's called Vanity Planets. And I'm recommending this. In fact, I'm putting a link down in the bottom with a special discount code if you want to get it. And here's why I like this scale so much. This scale tells you not just your weight, it tells very accurately your body fat. I know that because I'd had the test in the water on the truck, and a couple days later this came and I got on it, and I got the same result as I got from the truck. So this is way different than the old piece of junk that I had before. But in addition, you enter your age and your body type, how athletic you are, and it tells you your muscle weight, and it tells you, of course, your body fat percentage, as I said. It tells you your bone weight, it tells you your water weight. So there's a lot of really interesting information. I'm not even sure how to use it all. What I use is the weight, and I basically weigh myself maybe once a week, once every couple of weeks. If I go on vacation and come back, I weigh myself when I come back, just to kind of know, am I getting too light? Whoops, am I getting a little moving in the other direction? And then it's good information to have. But so I recommend this. Look for the link down in the bottom. Oh, and by the way, the scale normally sells for $139, but with this coupon code that they gave me down there, you can get it for 50 bucks. So $50 is a great price for a scale that does a lot like this. So there you go. So, and I just want to say, in case I didn't say this before, that I'm promoting this product as part of this video, but I would only promote a product that I believed in. You couldn't pay me to promote something I didn't like or I thought was junk. I think this is really good and a really good value, and that's why I'm telling you guys about it. Okay, so once you get down there, how do you maintain? Well, you just do it. I mean, I still eat pretty much I don't eat the maximum weight loss program because I'm way too active for that. I got down to my goal weight, I got down below it. I've been bicycling a lot. If I'm bicycling a lot in a week, then I need bagels and I need pizza. I had someone ask me, can you eat 4,000 calories in a day and lose weight? Well, you know what? I think I probably can on those days when I go for long bike rides and burn off 2,000, 3,000 calories. If you're not doing that, then you probably can't. So, you know, it's a matter of if you have a lot of activity going on, that factors into it. But basically, I am continuing on the McDougall maximum weight loss program, except that, you know, I've added breads back in and flours and things like that. And, you know, it seems to work with me with my activity level. As I say, if I get too low, I bring it up. If I start creeping up, I back off. So that's really what maintenance is about. But what it's really about is being satisfied, enjoying your food, and enjoying your friends and family. You know, I also had some blood work done right around the same time I was doing this. You see my total cholesterol 131, HDL, which is the good cholesterol, 53, LDL, the bad cholesterol, is at 68, triglycerides, this was a fasting test, and glucose. So, you know, I'm pretty happy with those numbers. I'm almost 60 years old, and there's a lot of people that are 60 years old who are taking a lot of pills and they don't have numbers like this, even, you know, medicated. So the diet is really the key. Keeping motivated is really key, and for me that means educating myself. You know, I've been doing this for what, I went vegetarian in 1990, we went vegan in 96. So we've been doing it for a while and putting on programs and learning, and I'm always looking to learn more. When I go out and ride my bike, sometimes I listen to a YouTube lecture. I'm going to put links down in the description of a few talks that I've watched recently, which I think are really good on weight loss. One is from Dr. Doug Lisle called How to Lose Weight Without Losing Your Mind. In fact, I'm going to put a couple from Dr. Lisle and one from Dr. McDougall that's on this topic, because the more you understand it and the more you get this information kind of ingrained, the easier it becomes as you're seeing results to go, oh yeah, I'm sticking with this. So educating yourself, being committed, and eating low calorie dense, that's the key. All right, see you next time. Thanks.